The supreme, profound, and sublime Dharma is difficult to encounter in a billion eons. Now I see it, hear it, receive it, and kept it. I vow to attain the true meaning of the Tathagata. In order to liberate all sentient beings, let us generate the supreme bodhicitta. Now it is 9:16. Today we will begin our class on A Journey to the West. And we will cover the preface part. Because of the time constraint, I will not take too long. Now, A Journey to the West recently has been printed out and distributed to everyone, and you can probably notice that the quality of the printout is really good. I will take some time every day during class to all of you. Maybe it is meaningful to you because when it comes to the teaching aspects of this book, since I have the oral transmission, I think it would be beneficial to you. Now, A Journey to the West mainly focuses on the precious teachings of Phuntsok Rinpoche during his trip to North America and Europe in 1993 when he went there to give teachings. The book I wrote, the memoir I wrote when of 1993 when Phuntsok Rinpoche went to India, Nepal, and Bhutan, was mainly focusing on records, personal records, but not much of the teachings given directly by Phuntsok Rinpoche. So that's the difference between these two memoirs. Now, in this preface, I mainly talked about a few aspects. The first one is that when we went to Europe and North America, we need to keep in mind that back then, Tibet didn't have a good commute or very convenient commute to the outside, nor any convenient means for information. And Phuntsok Rinpoche, being a senior practitioner who lived in Tibet for his whole life, he had no understanding or little to none understanding to the Westerners' language and their ways of living and habits and so on and so forth. Compared to the then Tibet, Canada, United States, and France had very much developed technology. And in terms of their livelihood and all different aspects of development, they were definitely much more developed than Tibet. So when Phuntsok Rinpoche went there, we thought that he would encounter certain challenges, but instead it is beyond our imagination that he used his unsurpassed wisdom and influenced many people, even people nowadays after 30 years. They still have a deep impression of Phuntsok Rinpoche. So this is the first aspect. And second is that Phuntsok Rinpoche lived in Phuntsok Rinpoche's extensive biography. There are detailed explanation, detailed records of his life events throughout 71 years. But not many people are aware of the detailed trip that Phuntsok Rinpoche took to the West. For that reason, I wanted to record it into a memoir because the other people, for example, Khenpo Namdro, also Lama Ngedro and Lama Mentso, they may not write a memoir about it. So I really wanted to share this experience to everyone. Though I've been collecting audios and videos, also started writing things down for a period of time, but I haven't had enough time to organize all of those information because of my other duties and chores, as well as my obligation to give Dharma teachings and so on. This is the second aspect. The third aspect is that this year marks the 20th anniversary of Phuntsok Rinpoche's parinirvana and the 30th anniversary of Phuntsok Rinpoche's trip to Europe and America, which is a very special time. For that reason, I put this particular project as priority and worked on the Tibetan and the Chinese version of this book myself, while entrusting the international translation team, our English team over here, and the French as well as the Japanese, for all of them to work on the translation of this book. This year, I would get up at 4 a.m. and keep on working on this project. Other than my daily practice and chants, I don't really work on any other projects whatsoever. So I worked for a period of time during which my health had some problem, and I had to go through a surgery which made me feel that impermanence is just right at the corner. For that reason, I worked very diligently for 105 days on this project, which is exactly the time that Phuntsok Rinpoche traveled to the West. Now that I have already finished the first version of this book, this is the third. And the fourth aspect is that since I've collected lots of audios and videos of Phuntsok Rinpoche's teachings, well, I started translating and work on the Chinese translation of those teachings from Tibetan language. I tried to find the historical accuracy, some of the accurate historical records, as well as finding some of the correct names of the stories that Phuntsok Rinpoche told. So I try to keep everything accurate, and I inserted lots of photos of Phuntsok Rinpoche's teachings through photographs as well as screenshots of videos during the typesetting procedure. Though that people feel that, well, the pictures may not be very clear, but I think it is a historical record. It is important to keep them in the book. And I tried my best to keep them accurate. This is the fourth aspect. And the fifth aspect is that as a great master of the past, the great masters of the past usually would say that it is best to make sure that the writings are accurate, while the teachings and all of those verbal teachings may not necessarily be as accurate. But what I found is that Phuntsok Rinpoche is so eloquent and so accurate. All of his words, all of his teachings through speech can be easily written down as a perfect text or perfect commentary. On top of that, I added some of the backstage stories of my own, and I tried my very best to keep everything very accurate, because it is said that even to one's teacher, one should not praise them or boast about their qualities. So this is the fifth. And the sixth aspect is that throughout the 3 months of teaching trip, Phuntsok Rinpoche barely had any one day of rest. He's either giving teachings or on the way to the Dharma centers to give teachings. And his load is definitely overloaded according to a worldly sense or to many people's consideration. So the seventh aspect was that when Phuntsok Rinpoche went out to give teachings to the Westerners, Phuntsok Rinpoche gave the rare teachings that he didn't really give in Tibet, or he rarely gives in Tibet. For example, when we have to listen to the teachings on Jetsaninti, we need to finish the preliminary practices and so on. I didn't even received the teaching from Phuntsok Rinpoche on Jetsun Intiga at the first time, I was really upset back then. Lots of the teachings included over here that Phuntsok Rinpoche gave to the West were extremely precious and without holding back at all. Phuntsok Rinpoche said that this is my first time to the West and this is the last. That is why I'm giving you these supreme tantric teachings without holding back at all. But if you want to practice it, you have to receive the empowerment and you have to receive oral transmission and guidance on it. This is the seventh. And the eighth is that this book is rather quite thick. It's a very heavy book. It's about 600 to 700 pages long. For people who are very accustomed to reading on your cell phones and reading on the short passages, these kinds of teachings may be too long for you and you may not have the patience for it. But for people with the mind seeking for liberation with great eagerness, then I'm sure you will find the preciousness of these teachings and you will be able to find all the precious teachings that gushed out from the ocean of wisdom of Phuntsok Rinpoche is indeed extremely beneficial. Some people may have not, many of you may have not, may have never met Phuntsok Rinpoche in person in this life, but after listening to Phuntsok Rinpoche's teachings, it is of no difference than meeting him. I think other than seeing his form, the teachings is truly meeting the true teacher. In the West, nowadays, if you want to listen to one class, you have to pay fees for it. You have to pay for tuitions. You need to pay lots of tuition to be able to receive the entire text, the entire teachings that Phuntsok Rinpoche give in the different places. Even if you were alive back at the time, or even if you had the opportunity to travel with Phuntsok Rinpoche back then, your financial situation may not support you to do so. In the past, when I went to Canada and America, some of the Sangha members followed me to each of the schools, and later he said that, oh, I have no more financial support to be able to follow you, to listen to your teachings anymore. But I think when listening to the teachings or receive the teachings over here in this book, this is the first-hand record of such a great master that is Phuntsok Rinpoche. This is the ninth aspect. This is a true historical record, and it includes many different interviews of people who describe Phuntsok Rinpoche from different perspectives, from their personal perspectives. From a worldly being's point of view, we can say that, well, this master went to so many places in different countries. It must be very tiresome. And to the Buddhist practitioners, you can probably see that, wow, this is indeed such precious teachings. It could be very meaningful and helpful to the practice. For example, the pith instruction of Maha-Ati, pith instructions of Mahamudra, and so on and so forth. As a person who wants to propagate dharma, then you may look at how Phuntsok Rinpoche took no time for himself. Rather, he went to different places to give teachings, and all of those teachings were wisdom that gushed out spontaneously from his wisdom. He did not read from a pre-written text. He rather spoke spontaneously. For people who are interested in the experience or history of Phuntsok Rinpoche, then you can see how he went to different places such as New York, Washington, and Boston, and so on. Then you can probably feel that it could be quite interesting. Also, I wanted to pay special thanks and gratitude to those of you who provided information, photos, audios, videos, and those of you who were involved in typing, in editing and proofreading, typesetting and printing, and so on and so forth. I really want to extend my gratitude. Especially some of the centers and the specific personnel who provided precious audios and videos, including photographs to me. I really want to say thank you to all of you. Another thing is that I am currently collecting some audios and videos as well as information of Phuntsok Rinpoche's trip to Singapore and Malaysia back in 1995. Khenpo Sodargye Lesson said that he kept all the calendars of each year where there are records of the things that had happened in that year, but he couldn't find the calendar of 1995. But that's okay. I'm still trying to find information in, for example, Malaysia and Singapore, and I'm trying to see if there are people who know or who have those information of Phuntsok Rinpoche's trip back in 1995. I only have 1 month of a time to work on it without any. If it works smoothly, then I think I want to write a short memoir of that trip as well. Even if I can't finish it, that's okay. I still am very thankful to all of you who joined forces in this particular project. All of your participation made this book vivid and made this history come to surface. Throughout the whole process and this whole book, if there are places that's not well written and that has some mistakes, I really wish that Phuntsok Rinpoche as well as the three roots would forgive me, because I would confess wholeheartedly to all of you. If there are some benefits through this book that's generated, I would like to rededicate all of the merits to sentient beings wholeheartedly. I asked Toku Tenzin to proofread the Tibetan version, and the Tibetan the Committee for Parinirvana Dharma Assembly requested to have this book printed and distributed as a gift back then, in the future. Now, the 99% of the information is included in this book that's already printed out in Chinese version. The Tibetan version may have some differences, but I think it's not a big problem. Today is the 26th of August, which was the time that Phuntsok Rinpoche arrived in Lirablin in France. And I think currently they're having the fourth anniversary of parinirvana of Sodargye Rinpoche right now in Lirablin. On the 26th of August back in 1993, Phuntsok Rinpoche gave a supreme Dharma teaching on the Maha'ati, and in the afternoon I give the teachings to the Sangha in Lirablin as well. And this is the memory. And I think this dependent origination is quite wondrous. Now we'll start our journey to travel back and share these memories that's 30 years ago. Well, I hope all of you can read the preface, and then later we can share the rest of the book.